What's up guys, it's Liam from TCG Ireland and I've got MLB versus Revengers in the form of Raging Form. MLB wins the dice roll and rides Marin. We then have the Claudus moving back for a 7k plus 1k card, calls another one, attacks for 12, gets a crit, and gets 2 heal triggers in a row and heals off the first damage, and we go straight into the next turn. So the MLB player rides onto the 12k attacker for blasters, attacks for 20k, gets a Gancelot, and the Revenger player damage checks Masquerade. So then the Revenger player's turn now. He rides Blaster Dark Revenger and decides on calling a Maca just for an extra attack even though there's no skill, and attacks for 15. He takes the damage and gets Epina. He then guards for no pass and moves on to his turn. So then the MLB player rides on to Ashley using Blaster Dark skill or Blaster Blade skill to kill off Maca, then using Gancelot's skill to find another Blaster Blade. So then, once the player cuts his deck, he will go straight to attacks, and he attacks with the Vanguard first for 21. He doesn't guard it, didn't see the first trigger, gets a Blaster Dark for the second, attacks for what would be 14, and he takes that damage as well. Wingull goes into the soul and he can search for a blaster. So then he rides straight to Raging Form. There's no Mordred there at the minute. He does find his MLB and kills off Blaster Blade with Blaster Dark Revenger. Calls the 8k vanilla to the far right and attacks for 16 to Ashley. He does take this damage and gets a heal trigger. No heal, but he does give the power. So he's attacking for 16. He calls the 10k for 2 pass, gets a heal trigger, and heals off a damage, gives the power to the Vanguard, and doesn't get anything for the second check. So this turn, I think our Majesty Lord Blaster player goes straight for the Vanguard attack, and for 21, gets a draw trigger, and gets King Knight's Alfred. Damage checks crit trigger, and draw. Then we see him call a Dorant and attacks for numbers. Guard with a 5k. Then a 16 at his Vanguard. He decides to guard this too with a 10k. And no guards, Vanguard attack, gets a Mordred and an 8k. So he's on limit break. He can break ride, and he does. He break rides MLB. Calls a Liberator, or not Liberator, Blaster Dark and Blaster Blade. Calls a 12k attacker. Boosted by the 10k Wingull thing. Attacks for 19, takes the damage, and then sucks the 2 blasters into the soul and attacks for 40. And he no hits that attack. First check Galantine, second strike a crit trigger, gives all the power to everything to the Vanguard or the rear guard, and he can't guard, and that is that. Thanks for watching guys, this has been Liam. I'll see